Miami sun, where I know that bitches love when it rain. My mother's son, but all my cronies keep it a day. Been through the system, but I ain't tryna go through it again. Shooter on parole, and I know that he'll shoot it again. Fuck the ops and they friends, I'm too real to pretend. All that time in the trap, got me time in the pen. Talk about us around.
Good morning, world. I hope everyone's having a great day. My name is Z's Brave, and welcome to What the Fuck Happened This Week, your new home for real news with no filters, no corporate spin, and no bullshit. Every week, we break down the biggest stories in politics, pop culture, world events, and everything in between, with sharp insight, raw honesty, and a perspective you won't get anywhere else. Before we get into it, I want to thank you for your support. If you enjoy the content, make sure you like, subscribe, and share the video. It helps the channel grow and keeps independent journalism alive. I am an independent journalist, not a corporate newsroom. Everything in today's episode is gathered from publicly available sources, credible outlets, and reputable platforms. I do my best to bring you accurate, balanced information, but if you catch anything that needs correction or clarification, feel free to drop it in the comments. All right, enough of the intro. Let's not waste any more time. Let's find out what the happened this week. This week, I want to talk about something that sounds super techy, but it's actually one of the biggest national security battles going on right now: AI chips. Now, you might be wondering, what the fuck even is an AI chip? So, here's a quick breakdown. These aren't just regular computer processors. AI chips are designed specifically for training and running machine learning modules. They're optimizing for massive parallel computing, handling crap tons of data, and doing complex math super fast. Those are the chips behind these things like big AI models, smart simulations, and advanced analytics. Why these chips are national security a big deal? Now, the US government is doing everything it can in their power to control the export of high end AI chips. Why? Because they see these chips as dual use. They're just not for civilian AI. They can also be powered military tech, advanced surveillance, and even weapon systems. Here is the kicker: American chip designers like NVIDIA and AMD are leading the world when it comes to performances. That means exporting these chips to China could help amplify their military AI capabilities, and the US doesn't want that. So, yes, you guessed it, smuggling right now is a real problem too. Here's where things get a little dirty. These restrictions aren't bulletproof. They are reports, and serious ones, that AI chips are being smuggled into China through illicit channels. One think tank, CNAS, estimates that tens or even hundreds of thousands of chips may have been smuggled in just 1 year. This is what I like to call loophole, or a gray area in the legal system. They are hiding shipments by mislabeling them or using shell companies, or to make matters worse, the US agencies in charge of enforcing this, the Bureau of Industry and Securities, commonly known as BIS for short, might be underfunded for this level of scale. There are reports of these chips being manufactured in Hong Kong, but it doesn't actually prevent them from selling to any other countries. So, just because China isn't actually getting their chips directly from the US, there are different other avenues that they are taking to attain these chips. And legally speaking, they're doing it legally. But blocking everything might backfire. Some of the experts say that these controls could motivate China even more to build its own advanced chip ecosystem. That's dangerous, because then it's not just about US chips anymore, it's about global race to build independent, powerful AI. Also, there is a debate about whether these export controls are too strict. Critics argue that limiting export hurts innovation and messes with the US companies' ability to scale and stay competitive. So, what are the solutions, and what's to be expected next? Some policy experts propose firmware based licensing for AI chips. Chips would only run if they've got a license loaded, which gives more control. There's talk of stronger enforcements, more funding, whistleblower programs, and better tracking of shipments. At the same time, the US is balancing this with not totally cutting off trusted allies. They don't want to isolate everyone. And here's my take on this matter. Yes, China is absolutely a national security threat when it comes to AI chips. But this game isn't complicated than just some chips. It's about who builds the future of AI, not just weapons. The US is wise to try to control exports, but if they lean too hard, they might accelerate China's own industry. The smuggling risk is huge. Policy means nothing without enforcement. Long term, we need smarter regulation, not just bans. Things like firmware, licensing, or international alliance based governance could be the way forward. Now, I know what some of y'all are thinking. Trump was just being petty a few years ago when he banned Huawei, the company, which is a China company, from actually selling any of their products in the United States. Because the reason why he did this, accordingly to a lot of critics, is that because he wanted to protect the company Apple and he wanted Apple to dominate. Now, if you actually took the time to think, that's stupid. And let me tell you why. This wasn't about protecting the iPhone company. And I know that the iPhone company is an American brand and it's their high prized company, one of the Fortune 500 companies, and they want to protect that because it's built in America, formed in America, created by Americans. This was about a company that already had their tech in the hands of millions of people worldwide. And with that comes data, real data, location, behaviors, patterns, infrastructure access, all of it. And before you say anything stupid like, well, China says they didn't use their product specifically for that reason, bro, come on, use your head. How do you know it's not a national security thing? Because Apple is an American company. And you think they're not collecting data too? Of course they are. That's the whole point. So if they're doing it to other people, other countries, that's where they got the idea from. If the US is sweating over foreign companies having the same level of access, that tells you everything. It's common sense. This is bigger than phones. It's surveillance, it's influence. It's who controls the tech that the entire world runs on. Huawei was the warning shot. The AI chip fight we're in now, that's just the next evolution. All right, we've covered that. Let's switch gears and hit the next story. Putin just ordered his government agency, Defense Ministry, Foreign Ministry, Intelligence, to draft proposals for resuming nuclear weapon tests. Not just talk, we're talking full on feasibility studies, Arctic test sites, logistics, planning, all of it. This comes after when President Trump stirred the pot on nuclear testing, and now Russia is making it clear if the US tests, they are ready to respond. Top Russian officials are pushing for immediate preps, citing US nuclear modernization as a threat. Here's the thing: President Putin hasn't detonated nukes yet. This is planning, steadying, and signaling strength. But the world should take notice. Nuclear power is back in play, and the global stakes just went up. Analysts say this could trigger a new arms race. One country tests, another responds, and that's how the escalation happens. Putin is smart. He's using Trump's ambiguity to make this about parity. He's essentially saying if you restart testing, we'll do the same. That's the power play. And the clock is ticking because preparing for tests isn't instant, it takes months, even years. So here's the bottom line: the US needs to clarify its clear stance because right now, Russia is reading the tea leaves and making bold moves. And in today's world, nuclear normalization isn't some distant Cold War story. It's a real risk we're facing this week. And I did look into this matter. Here is the proof of what Trump actually said. On October the 29th, 2025, Trump posted on Truth Social. Before we begin, here is some FYI for you. Truth Social is a social media platform launched by current US President Donald Trump in 2022. It was created as a space for his supporters to post content, share opinions, and communicate directly, especially after he was banned from the mainstream platforms like Twitter and Facebook following January the 6th, 2021's event. Let's move on to what Trump said. Because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately. He specifically referenced Russia and China as a justification for restarting testing. Accordingly to AP Energy Secretary Chris Wright, the new test will not include nuclear explosion. There'll be non critical system tests, not mushroom cloud detonations. Experts are calling his announcement vague. It's unclear whether he means full blown nuclear warhead tests or just testing delivery systems. It's not just the pundits. Nuclear experts like Hans Christensen say Trump post is unclear, all over the map, and possibly factually wrong about the US arsenal. So yeah, he said it. Trump told the Pentagon to immediately restart nuclear weapon testing, saying he wants to match Russia and China. But here's the real drop. Accordingly to the Energy Secretary, this isn't nukes popping off. He's talking system tests, not detonation. Still a big deal. Experts are calling him out. He's vague as hell. Does he mean real nukes or just missile systems? Some say he doesn't even know. Either way, the message is loud. Trump is sending a signal, and this isn't just flexing, it's dangerous. This isn't progressive thinking at all, actually. This is us playing with fire. Now, here's my take, guys. Trump's got to stop doing that shit. Look, threatening nukes only works when the strong meets the strong. But this isn't that scenario. We're talking about crazy, meaning quiet crazy. Frank Lucas said it best. The loudest one in the room is usually the weakest. I'm not saying Trump is weak, but Putin? That man chooses his words carefully. That guy is quiet, always thinking, and you never know what is in his head until he speaks. And if you think for 1 second that man is scared to nuke countries into oblivion, you are dead ass wrong. Remember, the world has a history of agreement not to use nuclear weapons in war. After World War II and the nuclear bombings of Hiroshima, countries came together to sign treaties and pacts. The goal? Avoid repeating the horrors of the past. That's why today, nations have rules against nuclear warfare. So, what the fuck do you think Trump is sending with his comments about nuclear testing? He's basically saying, forget about the peace agreement. Like, all the work to prevent nuclear war doesn't matter anymore. The past paid these pacts so the world could survive without repeating the same mistakes. And right now, feels like we're heading backwards, not forward. This is not progressive thinking. This is just our own idiocy. But hey, let's move on. The next story, we'll be covering the Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica. Here's the latest on Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica, what happened, how bad it was, and how things are looking. And also ways to help. Melissa made landfall in Jamaica on October the 28th, 2024. I know it didn't definitely happen this week. This is definitely something else, should have covered 2 weeks ago. But, this is the first episode of our show. But it is important because I believe that the destruction has left such a devastating mess that they are still currently, trying to recover. So here we are. But yeah, Melissa made landfall in Jamaica on October the 28th, 2025, near New Hope in the western part of the island. At landfall, it was a Category 5 hurricane, one of the strongest ever to hit Jamaica. Later, as it moved away, its strength dropped to Category 4, but it was still very dangerous. Melissa sustained winds reached to 185 miles per hour, which is 295 kilometers an hour. The storm dumped about 12 to 24 inches of rain, with some spots seeing up to 30 inches. Because it was slow moving, the damage was so intense. In Jamaica's southwest, St. Elizabeth Parish, uh, entire areas flooded and roads were blocked by landslides, buildings collapsed, roof ripped off, even hospitals and major infrastructure took big hits. As of recent reports, 45 people have been dead, in Jamaica because of the hurricane, with 15 still missing. As of recent report, 45 people have been dead in Jamaica because of the hurricane, with 15 still missing. Earlier, other sources said at least 19 to 49 people were dead in Jamaica. That's pretty much what I can find so far. There were also injuries and indirect deaths before the storm fully hit. 3 people died and 13 were hurt while preparing. Up to 530,000 people lost power across Jamaica. There were major disruptions. Communications went down in several parishes, roadblocked, downed trees, and utility poles destroyed. Shelter crisis, tens of thousands sought refuge in emergency shelters. Weather.com reports 25,000 plus people in shelters. Government declared parts of Jamaica a disaster area to speed up relief and recovery. According to Jamaica's prime minister, the damage is so massive that it estimated about 6 to 7 billion, which is nearly one third of the country's GDP. Let's get into the relief and recovery. Lots of prayers to Jamaica and all the families that were affected. Here are ways that we can help. Relief supplies are starting to trickle into remote, cut off communities. Emergency crews are using helicopters to reach isolated areas. There are around 1,100 people in emergency shelters. Power is being restored gradually. More than 60% of customers have had electricity restored in some areas. Aid priorities: food, cleaning water, medical care, some tarpaulins for damaged roofs. And here's how we can help and what's needed. Donations to disasters relief groups working in Jamaica, Red Cross, UN agencies are quite critical. If you can do that, go straight to their websites. Support for emergency shelters, money, supplies, and volunteers. If you have any means to help, go directly to those websites and push for international aid, debt relief. The Prime Minister has already called for help because the storm damage is huge relative to Jamaica's economy. What the fuck happened this week in Jamaica is catastrophic. Melissa was not just a bad storm, it came in strong, it stayed long, and the destruction it left behind, it's just terrible. Tens of thousands have been displaced, hundreds of thousands lost power, people are cut off, roads are gone, hospital damaged, and the death toll, it's climbing. Relief is coming, but it's slow, and Jamaica needs help. Real help, not just thoughts and prayers. This is the kind of disasters where global solidarity matters. If you can help by donating, spread the words, or supporting legit disasters relief agencies, do it. This is the moment of action, not silence. All right, let's go deeper for a second because this hurricane shit isn't just storms happening, it's getting worse. And I want y'all to really understand how. Look back about 20 years ago, early 2000s to mid 2000s, hurricanes weren't weak, but they were different. Sure, we had some big ones like Hurricane Katrina in 2005, but the conditions fueling them are not what they are now. Now, here's what's changed. A recent Climate Central study shows that between 2019 and 2023, rising sea surface temperatures caused by human made climate change made Atlantic hurricanes about 18 miles per hour stronger on average. And in 2024, all 11 hurricanes in the Atlantic had their top sustained wind speeds boosted by 9 to 28 miles per hour because of warmer ocean water. But that's not all. Rapid intensification, when a storm goes from minor to monster in just a day, it's happening way more now than 20 years ago. A study found that in the last 20 years, 8% of storms moved from weak hurricanes to major category 3 plus within 24 hours. That's more than double what was happening in earlier decades. And why? Because the oceans are warmer, giving these storms more fuel. Plus, higher sea level means when these storms hit, the flooding is worse. Bottom line, comparing a hurricane from 2005 to the ones today is like comparing a small punch to a knockout blow. The same magnitude storm, Sure, maybe, but the power behind now is way more deadly. This isn't just bad luck, okay? The climate is amping up these storms, and that's the lessons we need to take seriously. So, yeah, man, I mean, here's the deal. If it's trash, trash it. If it's recyclable, recycle it. Don't just toss stuff around like the planet's your personal dumpster. If you can go green, go green. Ride that EV. Hop on a bike. Plant a tree. Stop burning gas like we've got 30 other planets waiting for vacation. Look, when I'm not going to work, picking up my daughter, or hitting the gym, I don't go anywhere. Do I plan to get a Tesla? Yes, I do. But in the meantime, if I don't need to drive my car, I'm not going to drive my car. Keep it simple, keep it real. Your choices matter. Don't be the person adding fuel to the problem when the storm already showed up on our front doorstep. And that's my take. Let's just move on to the next story. From the world of tech to the fate of our planet, let's turn our attention to the COP30, where global leaders are making headlines with bold climate moves this week. COP30 is underway in Brazil, and the climate news this week is too big to ignore. Here's what you need to know. At the top of the headline, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. I do apologize if I butchered your last name. Now, he didn't just mince words, he called the world failure to keep global warming under 1.5 degrees Celsius a moral failure, warning that tipping points are near and catastrophic consequences are coming fast. That means extreme weather, rising seas, and widespread ecological disruption if action isn't immediate. Fossil fuel companies and some governments were squarely in his crosshair. Brazil jumped into the spotlight too, launching the Tropical Forest Forever facility, a multi-million-dollar global fund to protect the Amazon and other tropical forests. Already, 53 countries have signed on, pledging billions to preserve crucial ecosystems that help regulate the planet's climate. For context, Norway pledged 3 billion, Indonesia pledged 1 billion, Brazil 1 billion, and France 500 million euros. This is the first long-term fund focused directly on forest survival, and it's a major step towards slowing climate change. Wildfires is another major focus. More than 40 countries agreed to new integrated fire management strategy emphasizing prevention, early detection, indigenous leadership, and sustained funding. The goal? Stop the record-breaking fires that have devastated communities and ecosystems around the world each year. So that is their main focus. Meanwhile, the European Union sets a bold and controversial target, cutting carbon emissions 90% by 2040. This is one of the most aggressive climate pledge ever made. That means everyone has to stop, manufacturing, um, you know, cars that run on gas, and it means that everyone has to switch over to, EVs. It's really bold, but I believe it can happen. you know, as long as we can wrap our minds around that we only have one planet. We don't have other 30 other planets like waiting for us to go on vacation. Can't just be like, you know what, I feel like going to Mars and just hop on a rocket and head there. Not to say it won't happen, but will it happen within the next 2, 3 decades? Highly unlikely. Maybe sometime down the near future, maybe 100 years from now. But yeah, it is definitely one of the most aggressive climate pledges ever made. But hey, I'm here for it. But yes, critics warn, however, that the plan relies too heavily on buying carbon credits from other countries, essentially outsourcing emissions, and that several EU nations questions whether the target is realistically achievable. So, it makes sense. There's some logic there. And Canada is making waves by highlighting Indigenous climate leadership and renewing its commitment to the global methane pledge, aiming for near zero methane emissions from oil and gas. Canada even hosted a full summit day led by First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities. Methane is a super potent greenhouse gas, so cutting it fast is one of the most effective ways to slow global warming over the next decade. So, from moral warnings from the UN to billions pledged for forest protection, wildfire strategies, and methane reduction, COP30 is proving this week what climate action isn't just about talk. It's urgent, it's complex, and it's global. Coming up next, we'll dive into another story shaking up headlines this week. In Sudan right now, people are living through a full blown crisis. There is a war raging between the country's main military, the Sudanese Armed Forces, and a massive paramilitary group called the Rapid Support Forces, more commonly known as RSF for short. Cities are being fought over, families are fleeing for their lives, hospitals and roads are destroyed, and tens of thousands are displaced. People can't get food, water, or medical help. Think of it like a city in chaos. Every day, life stopped cold with no safety for civilians. Now, there are many foreign powers involved in this war, backing both sides, which is making the fight worse and stretching the suffering. Bottom line, this isn't some far off headline. Real people are trapped, people are dying, and barely anyone is talking about it. That's what's happening in Sudan right now, plain and simple. All right, now that you know what's happening on the ground, let's rewind and break down how it all started. This war kicked off in April 2023. The country's main military, the Sudanese Armed Forces, used to be allied with a powerful paramilitary group called the Rapid Support Forces, RSF for short. Both were supposed to manage Sudan's transition from military rule to the civilian government. But that transition stalled, power struggle popped off, old alliance turned to straight up conflict. Then that's when the shooting started. The RSF isn't just any military group. They've got deep roots in Sudan Pass, coming out of the infamous Janjaweed military that terrorizes Darfur years ago, combined with modern weapons, drones, and outside backing, and you've got a recipe for absolute pure chaos and destruction. And yeah, foreign powers are fanning the flames. The UAE and Russia are reportedly backing the RSF, giving them money, giving them weapons, even drones. Meanwhile, the Sudanese armed forces have support from Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Eritrea. Some reports even show China supplying arms to both sides. Bottom line, this isn't just Sudan fighting itself, it's a proxy war, a global chess game, and civilians are the ones getting crushed. Now, why does this matter? Because real people are paying the price. Tens of thousands displaced, roads and hospitals destroyed, famine risk skyrocketing. There are sexual violence being used as a weapon, and the death tolls are climbing. This isn't just statistics, these are lives, families, children caught in the middle. Now, I think a lot of people are like me, not enough understanding how bad it really is. Big outlets are covering it, sure, but it's complex and far away, so most people don't feel it in their daily lives. That's why I'm covering this, to bridge that gap, to take the complex, messy reality and break it down so you can see what's happening and why it matters. What other outlets are saying? The United Nations Human Rights Council is holding a special session on November the 14th, 2025, to address alleged atrocities around Al Fasha. According to the UN, there are large scale atrocities by the Rapid Support Forces, including ethnic killing, torture, and summary execution. Human Rights Watch is called out both wearing parties in Sudan for failing to protect civilians, targeting civilians' infrastructure, and committing widespread abuses. On the humanitarian front, a senior UN official warned that 12 million people are displaced and 24.6 million face severe hunger. There are credible reports from UN and press that sexual violence is being used as a weapon in the war. According to AP News, 53 civilians were killed in a displaced camp attack around El Fasher. The Guardian is also reporting UN condemnation, mass killing, breakdowns of communications, and a warning that no one is safe in El Fasher. More than 36,000 people have fled from El Fasher to Tawila since the city fell to RSF forces. The UN's right chief is warning of mass deaths from famine due to the growing humanitarian crisis. Now, here's the hard truth: displacement, famine risk, sexual violence, mass killing, these aren't just headlines. These are human lives, human rights being violated. Look, this isn't just some far off war on the other side of the country. It's a clash of power, legacy, and control. Two military forces that used to be allied turn on each other, and now regular people are caught in the crossfire. This isn't Ukraine, this isn't Russia, this is Sudan. But the consequences, just as real. Families displaced, civilians dying, people starving, and foreign powers, they're just fueling the fire, you know? Making this war bigger, bloodier, and longer. Global money, global influence, and the people are stuck paying the price. So when you hear this story, don't just shrug, okay? I want you guys to understand because understanding is the first step. If you don't know what's going on, how can you expect things to change? Keep your eyes open, keep your heart open. Your voice matters too, just like mine. It's 2025, and I'm sitting here thinking, how the hell did we get here? Our society feels lost, like we've drifted far from the fire of the Vietnam era, when people protested, demanded justice, and fought for human rights. Back then, voices mattered, actions mattered. Now, we sit glued to our screens, scrolling through endless nothingness. We curate our lives with filters and likes, pretending intelligence is some clever comment. But really, it's just a reflection of our character. Look at the comment section on any post. There is nothing short. It's chaos, stupidity, masquerading as thoughts. Most people don't care about anything beyond themselves. I'm not like that. I actually care. I care deeply about society, about people, about preserving human life. I care about the truth, about justice, about what's left of humanity. But the world is in a deep, wicked place. The earth doesn't know what the fuck is going on, and the heavens don't know neither. Morality is broken, integrity these days is fucking rare. We are living in a time of moral deficit. And if we don't wake the fuck up, it's not just society that suffers, it's all of us. This week reminds us our world is moving fast, cries are piling up, and every decision from tech to climate to geopolitics has real consequences. The message is clear: stay informed, stay engaged, and never underestimate how connected these stories really are. And that's it for this week. But the world isn't slowing down, and neither are we. Until next time. That's what the happened this week. Over and out.